Yo, 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 what is up, everybody? Popo here bringing guys a new video, and today we're going to learn from our losses. Let's go. Welcome, everybody, and today we're going to be Welcome, everybody, and today we're going to be talking about learning from your losses. Welcome, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about how you can learn from your losses. This is something that a lot of people do struggle with, as it is a pretty hard skill to master. You got to be able to overcome a lot of things to learn from your losses, but it's very, very important if you do want to improve in the game itself. So I got a few tips here. We're going to go over a couple of matches I had and what I learned from those losses and how I can apply them to future matches. So we're going to do a little bit of that so I can show you in practice how this can work. So learning from your losses, what is the first thing that's the most important thing you can do to learn from your loss? Is don't get tilted. If you get tilted, you're gonna have a bad time. Those who get tilted often don't learn anything from their matches, and those matches end up becoming like just, you know, you fester on them instead of learning. You know, whether it be you got crit, or, you know, there was a call made, or you missed double protect, or they got a double protect, and that kind of tilted you, put you out of your game. You can't let it do that, because you're not going to learn anything from those matches, and you got to focus on the positives and stuff that you can improve. And that goes into our next one, is rewatch your gameplay. This is important because it'll allow you to look at what those mistakes were in a different light, from an outsider's perspective almost, where you're like, you know what's going to happen, but you can also go, oh, maybe I should have done this in a real-time environment. And that's kind of what we're going to be doing today. So that's an important skill to have, is be able to recognize that. So rewatching your gameplay is really, really good for that. Now, I know not everybody has a capture card and can't do this, but this is something that you can do on Showdown pretty easily, as you can save all of your replays. I know it's easy that after the match, you just click out of those matches and you just like move on to the next one, but don't do that. Wins or losses, you should be saving them. I plan on doing a video in the future on a bunch of different things, but it's going to include a way to learn from all that stuff too. So look forward to that. But rewatch your gameplay, and rewatching your gameplay will help you understand the mistakes that you made. So as you're going through the games, even wins, which actually one of the two losses today is actually a win, a game I probably should have lost, but we're gonna you can still learn from those wins, because you're not playing a perfect game. Wolf Glick's not playing a perfect game most of the time, right? So don't expect yourself to be putting out that perfect game. Even if you have a game where you 4-0 your opponent, there's a chance you did not play that game perfectly, and there is something to learn from that win. So it's really, really important to understand the mistakes that you made, even in wins, even when you felt like you did really well. Rewatch those replays, look for those mistakes, try to say what would happen in these situations, and then you can try to evolve your gameplay for that. And that brings us into number 4. We have reflect on other choices. So just think of other choices you could have made during the game, whether it be something as simple as, oh, maybe I should have just protected on that turn. And, you know I still won and all this stuff, but maybe I put myself in a position where I could have lost the game if I got crit, or, you know, I flinched or something like that. But if I would have protected, I just had a safe win, right? So there's certain things like that that you can look into and pick your choices and go forward there. And the last one, because I do have 5, I know the graphic, it's fine, is don't give up. Never give up. Giving up, you're not going to learn anything. You've given up everything you've learned. Just don't give up. Keep trying. The game is hard. The game is very, very hard. People think they can just get into the game. It's super easy. It's not. It's not. It's a very, very hard game. So don't give up. Don't get discouraged. Just try your best. Even if you're losing every single game, try to use these tips to learn something. And like I said, we're going to go over a couple of games, and we're going to talk about stuff and how we can learn from these games. So we're going to get right into that here. So starting on this screen, we're going to go over a little bit of what you can do in team selection. So a big thing, and this is new. Look at what I got. This is a thing. So we want to recognize what are the threats on the team. That's the most important thing you can do during this step in the process. What does my team have a weakness to? And does my opponent see that weakness? And we got to fill that weakness and understand it, right? So right away, we have Torkoal here. You see this? We have Torkoal here. And Torkoal is pretty weak to 2 of his Pokemon. Especially because this is a fast Torkoal, so under Trick Room, I will most likely be slower or faster than Ursaluna, so it'll hit me first, right? And Tyranitar, outside of Trick Room, is still going to be faster than me most of the time. So I'm in a pretty bad position against both of these Pokemon, so I have to understand that, right? And to do so, I need something that can counter it. Now, a Pokemon that can do pretty good into both of those Pokemon is going to be that Ursaluna. Right, he does well into this, and he does well into this, and he does pretty well into this as well. So that's already a Pokemon that's doing pretty well. But we have to worry about Primarina, because Primarina does very well into that, does very well into that, does pretty well into this, and does extremely well into this. So as you can see, it starts becoming a little bit of a mess, right? But we're recognizing that these situations exist. So if we just go ahead and play it. So going into the game, my thoughts is I want to go with Lilycole, because Lilycole is going to allow me to outpace the whole team. And if they want to try to go for Trick Room, we can kind of get the stop by using these two to, you know, Sleep Powder this with that. And if they go for something like the Tyranitar in the beginning, we will have the sand up. We'll get rid of the sand right away, or we'll learn where the speed tiers are lying. So that's going to be a good situation for us. And now it's whether or not we want speed control or not, and that's something you're going to have to decide based on the team that you have. This team can work in both Trick Room or outside of Trick Room. And so my choice here is going to end up being Trick Room, and the reason why is because Trick Room is going to be good against these ones here, and I guess by extension this here. So it puts us in a pretty okay position, though I don't think he's ever going to go with Mouse here. And the reason why I don't think Mouse ever comes is because if we do get Trick Room set up, Mouse is useless. If for some reason we do go Lilycole against it, then Mouse is useless. So I don't think they ever want to go Mouse here, unless this is like Follow Me Mouse, but it's unlikely on this team. This is most likely Population Bomb, so we have to be careful for that. So my thoughts here is that they're going to go with Goldango and something else. And that's exactly what ends up happening. It ends up being Goldango and the Primarina. So right away, in this match, we do have pressure here going into here with a couple of moves, and we have pressure going into here. Now, once again, he doesn't know that we're very, very fast Torkoal, so it doesn't know what we have going on. But it does allow us to go for something like that Eruption and After You that would put a lot of pressure. Now, here's the mistake I make on the first turn, is that I go for Solar Blade, well knowing that he has Tyranitar. My thought was that maybe he would lead Tyranitar into the matchup, but he did not, which was a good decision by my opponent. So now they have Primarina, who's in a pretty good position, and I'm thinking that maybe they make a call here and don't go for the switch. But at the same time, there's a very, very good chance to go for it. So my best play here is going to be Sleep Powder and Eruption from Torkoal. And this just covers for almost everything, except if he goes Shadow Ball into the Torkoal, right? So in that's the most unlikely play to happen. So identifying the likely play and picking the right move is super important here. So going with Protect is okay. It's decent. But going for the Solar Blade here into the Primarina was probably the worst play I could have made. And as we do see the retreat, we do see that he comes in with the Tyranitar. Now, this Tyranitar is going to set the sand, which is going to put a lot of pressure onto both of my Pokemon. Of course, this still pressures this, and this still pressures this. But the problem with that is the fact that I am now stuck in Solar Blade for 2 turns, and this just protected. So with this protecting, I have to rely on the fact that Primarina may be protected this turn, but that's super, super unlikely knowing that the sand was going to come up. But it goes for Hyper Voice and gets a critical hit. And now we can see the life here. We took about 56. That's quite a bit of damage, because if we would have taken less than that, you know, about 30 damage or 25 damage between there, that would have been a lot better, because now we don't survive a second one, and it does get a +1 here. So it's going to get the +1 on that special attack, which is going to hurt a little bit, but not significantly. My best play here is to go into my King Gambit, and the reason why that's my best play is because he's putting a lot of pressure with the +1 here, as well as having the sand up. My Torkoal is going to continuously take damage. I'm stuck into the Solar Blade, so there's a good chance that I do faint this turn. We do go for the Soul Blade, as they do go for the Terra. So this is actually a really good Terra for us. If we would have went into Sleep Powder but missed, let's say Sleep Powder Protect, and we missed, we would still be in a much better position this turn than we were last turn, right? Without a doubt. So now that this is Terrasilize, he does go Rock Slide, and we could see that we're actually left at 45. So that's very important, because 45 is not enough to survive this Hyper Voice, though if we would have taken the half between the last turns, we would have survived, and I think we would have had just enough to survive the sand, but I'm unsure about that. It could have still gone down to that. So now I'm in a very weird position, as we have Torkoal, and he still has Tyranitar, and he can switch, but we do put a lot of pressure onto Primarina now, if we do go out with that Torkoal. But unfortunately, we're unable to go out with the Torkoal, because he's going to outspeed us. We see it's Assault Vest, which kind of makes it so we just can't win at this point. And here comes my second mistake. I haven't used my Terrestrialization yet. There is a chance that this thing Moonblasts, but it's pretty unlikely that it's going to Moonblast, and if it does, it's going to double up into Dusclops rather than going for the King Gambit. So my best play here was Terrasilize into the Dragon Terra, and recognizing that too is very important when you maybe should have Terrasilize rather than when you did Terrasilize, because I feel a lot of people do the mistake of Terrasilizing on the first turn, which puts them in a pretty bad position. So we do see the low kick coming out, and that's going to be enough to pick up the King Gambit, which is going to be super, super unfortunate for us. And losing that is a huge deal, because now we're down to 2, and he has the ability to switch out the Tyranitar into whatever he has in the back. We know the Goldango's sitting back there. Goldango's not really a concern for us, because the Torkoal is going to one-shot it even if the sand was up. But we do have some interesting tech here, which is going to be the Sunny Day. We have Sunny Day on our what's-his-face, but we need a double knockout here to have a chance. And we're not going to get that. We are going to get the knockout on Goldango with Eruption, which sacrificing Goldango is kind of crazy, because, you know, it's one of your best Pokemon, but they don't need it right now. They just need Tyranitar. I just don't have the damage output for Tyranitar. And this just shows the targeting at the beginning of the game was very bad. My first move choice was really, really bad. I could have put a lot more pressure doing a lot of different things. So this just kind of shows where I was in that mindset. And we're going to see, I'm going to set up the Sun to get rid of the sand. And we're going to get Eruption off on the failed Protect, which is fine. And this is going to do like 25%. Not enough. It's not going to do enough. With that Assault Vest, it's still super, super bulky. So if he did have the sand up with that, it's basically impossible. I think his plan was to just switch back out Tyranitar, if like on the next turn, so he can confirm sand, but I don't think he really needed to. And then we see the last Pokemon, which is going to be that Ursaluna, which is my biggest fear, because this just puts so much pressure on this. And now with Dusclops being, you know, at the HP that it is, it's pretty much over. Here I also make a mistake. I decide that he's going to protect, so I need to put some damage on. I can't knock out Tyranitar, so my opponent made the correct play in not protecting, which they're able to get the Headlong Rush off, and that's just going to be GG for us. They played really, really well, but we made a lot of mistakes, and a lot of those mistakes came from Team Preview, where we felt like we had a pretty good mashup of Pokemon, but we really, really needed that next step. Tyranitar really put a lot of pressure on us with the Primarina next to it, and we weren't able to get past that. Now, what could we have done going into that Team Preview? One of the big things was bringing the Murkrow then we could have set up Tailwind, and recognizing that would have been huge for us. Getting up the Tailwind, they weren't ready for whatever else was coming. So we could have taken advantage that way. Also, not clicking Solar Blade would have been huge too. If we would have just clicked Sleep Powder into that slot, we would have been in a very, very good position going into the next turn, because we could have put pressure onto both Pokemon in different ways. So yeah, we kind of lost it on that too. So let's go into what we learned from game one. So slow down, right? We hurried at that beginning, that first turn. We were just like, let's go for the Solar Blade, let's get it going, and then we'll figure it out after that. That is the wrong attitude to have. You want to make sure you slow down your gameplay a lot of the times. There's a term in wrestling, right? It's like, if you think you're going slow, slow down. And that's something that you can actually take into playing VGC as well. If you think you're going slow, probably slow down. You have the timer for a reason. Don't feel like the timer's a race, because it's not. Just take your time, make sure you're making the right plays, assessing the whole situation, rather than just going for what you perceive as the best move in that turn. Sometimes it works, sometimes it is the best move and it's obvious, but sometimes it's not. Understand the situation. There's you know, weather in the back, and I go for Solar Blade, then I'm in a bad position. It's not something I took into consideration, and something I definitely should have. Would I have survived if I didn't get the crit? Yeah, but I put myself in a position to be knocked out with a crit, or without a crit even. So I put myself in a bad situation where my Pokemon couldn't move at all, which was not ideal. You gotta conserve the right Mons. We didn't conserve the Mons that we really needed in the end game, and that's going to be like the King Gambit, which we could have used to knock out Tyranitar, which would have put us in a really good position. We could have potentially won the game just off of knocking that out. And we didn't preserve the Lilligant either, which losing that was probably the bigger deal, because then we couldn't after you Eruption or after you do anything else. And then target the correct Mons. We needed to knock out Tyranitar, and we just failed to do so. We weren't able to put enough damage onto it, and we ended up losing the game because Tyranitar just kind of went crazy against our team. We needed different Pokemon in the back to be able to deal with it, and we just didn't have that available to us. So there was a lot of things that we could have changed, but these are the things I'm taking away the most from, and stuff I'm going to apply to my future games. Is just slow down. That's the biggest one. Is something I do have an issue with. All right, going into game number 2 here, you're going to see a little bit of me extending from the old me. It's the same. I'm using the exact same team. This is going to be a victory, though. This was before the other game. But this is a very odd team, and this is something you'll see on ladder a lot. And when you're facing teams like this, it's very, very important to assess what the biggest threats are, right? So their biggest threats here is going to be Choice Banded Dragonite, which is going to do a ton of damage. I only have 1 immunity to it, so he can kind of just hit into anything he wants with this, and it's going to do a ton of damage, except for King Gambit. So this shows that maybe we need King Gambit. King Gambit is also good into this. It's also not too bad into this. It's actually pretty good into this, and it does decent into this and can't be affected by this. So it just shows me that this is a Pokemon I'm going to want on the team. Also, this is probably something we're going to want because of the fact that, you know, he does have this, but his team is relatively, like, mid-speed, so this could be something that's really good. And Lilycole is very, very good here because he only has 1 immunity to it, and he could Grass Terra, so we're putting a lot of pressure on. I almost thought about not going for it, but I decided to go for it. And then we bring the King Gambit, because here you also have to decide what your opponent's Pokemon sets are, right? They have 2 Steel types, and they have a Grass type, so it's likely that they're going to want to set up the Rain, and they have 1 Prankster user who gets Rain, and you got to assess that. I had to look it up. I didn't know he got Rain. He gets all the weathers, but you just got to make sure that you understand that situation too. So bringing these 3 puts a lot of pressure, but we just need damage, and this doesn't give any damage. This doesn't give any damage. So our best bet is to just go with Ursaluna, and we can use Ursaluna at the end if we really, really need to. It's very, very good against the Archludon too, where it can't hit with its best move. So As long as we can kind of preserve it and then bring it in, it should be doing pretty good. So he leads exactly with what I thought was going to be the Archaludon plus the Sableye. So I know that this is going to be rainy. It's going to be rain now. So our best bet is to go with Sleep Powder here, just like we did in the last game. And you see how fast I picked my moves and everything like that? I know it's in fast forward, but still I picked those moves pretty quickly, and that was kind of a detriment. And once again, slow it down. We bring out King Gambit instead of just going for the Protect, and that's just because we want to be able to pressure weather later on. We see this thing actually not be grass, so we know we can Sleep Powder it, so this is looking pretty good as long as we don't miss on it. Like I said, this is going to go rainy day, so we're going to get the rainy day off, and this is most likely going to be Electro Shot into this. And honestly, I should have went into my Ursaluna here, but I did not go into Ursaluna here, and that was kind of a mistake. But we do see the Rain Dance go off, and it will start to rain. We see the Electro Shot, and I'm like, yep, that's Choice Scarf. So identifying what your opponent's items are pretty quickly. This is Choice Scarf. This is probably Focus Sash. It's unlikely it's Mental Herb because, you know, it can't really get taunted because it's Dark type. Unless it's a fast taunter, but then you'll at least get to use it once. It doesn't really ever run any other items besides that, but we do get the Sleep Powder off, so now this is going to be a sleep. We're going to have a free turn essentially to do whatever we want, but if we can just put Sableye to sleep here, because Sableye will go first, we put Sableye to sleep and we get the sun up is what I am predicting is going to happen here. So on this turn, I once again need to just slow down. That's perfectly fine, though, what I did here. But if he would have just went Rainy Day, I predicted that he was going to go with Will-O-Wisp to try to protect his Archaludon. And that's perfectly fine because Lilligant's not here to do damage. It's not very good into the rest of its team besides for the Sleep Powder. And we actually end up missing. And that's really, really bad because now he can get the rain back up. And if Archaludon wakes up and hits into this, then we're in a very, very bad position. And we do not want to be in said position. So what we're going to do here is we're going to assess the situation a little bit. So what we could do is we can go for the Sleep Powder into it again, and that will put some pressure on. But we have Electro Shock going into the slot again, so they still have a lot of pressure going into there. We could go for a close combat onto this, which is not going to do the most damage. He does have pretty high defense. Or we can just kind of sacrifice Lilligant if we think that's going to be something else, if we think Lilligant's going to go down. But I'm going to make the right play this time where Lilligant is going to go for the Sleep Powder again. They're going to get the rain up, but we now have Ursaluna in, and they're always going to target this slot because this is not putting any pressure on any of the Pokemon out there. And he does actually wake up, so that's very, very unfortunate for us. And he's going to get the Electro Shot boost, but he is not going to get Electro Shot off because it is going to go into the Ursaluna. So this time I did make the right call, though King Gambit did take significant damage unnecessarily on that first turn, so that was bad. Sleep Powder does hit this time, so once again, this is a situation I'm using an inaccurate move, so tilt could come from missing Sleep Powders. You got to stay focused and not tilt, right? You got to stay focused and not tilt. It's very, very important to do so. So we're going to go out with King Gambit here. We're going to sacrifice King Gambit. And now I was talking about switching in the proper Mons and stuff like that. King Gambit would be full health here, and this would be even a better play. But unfortunately, we have taken damage with King Gambit. But we are going to switch in the King Gambit in order to take a Electro Shot here so we can put pressure with the Ursaluna. But taking into consideration how everything is going here, my thought is that they're going to switch it out because they don't want to get stuck in it if I switch in the sun right here. So I'm thinking that they're going to switch out Archaludon and then they might go for a Rain Dance or something like that, but they can't do anything this turn, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to attack into Sableye so that way we can confirm the win on the Weather War. Blood Moon should be enough to bring it down to its Focus Sash, and then we can take care of it on the next turn if we need to. But they do switch it out, and they actually go into Rillaboom, which is perfectly fine with me. That loses at the end game if we can just get control of the weather. But Yeah, we're gonna switch out too, so you're gonna see us switch out there. King Gambit's gonna come in, and it's low, but it's not gonna get knocked out this turn, which is really good. But we do see a switch here as well, and we see the Gold Dango coming in, which is okay for us. It is gonna take a Blood Moon, but we definitely do not want to take a Make It Rain here. So what's going on now? Fake Out Pressure into this is going on. A Fake Out Pressure, that plus a Make It Rain into both of these is going to do pretty good damage, which might put this in Grassy Glide range. So we got to be very careful for that. King Gambit most likely won't be able to go Sucker Punch into here, which would be enough to knock it out. But I think I need to, at this point, conserve the King Gambit, because if I can preserve the King Gambit and the Ursaluna, I think I will be in a very good position. They can't reset up the rain if I have in Torkoal, so that's going to be good for me too. So I just got to make sure I have the right Pokemon in at the right time. So I'm actually going to go for a switch into Lilligant and sacrifice it. That's my thought, is this is going to be Make It Rain. I'll sacrifice Lilligant, which probably in hindsight was not the best move. The best move was just to sacrifice King Gambit. But my opponent makes a huge mistake. And this is what I mean, where I can learn from these situations, even though this is a win. This King Gambit should have stayed out. There's no reason for me to switch this King Gambit. Yeah, it might take a Fake Out, but I think my best bet here is to just go for Sucker Punch and to go for Protect. And not doing so kind of puts me in a dangerous position, because if I lose Lilligant, I actually lose all speed control in this matchup. I lose every bit of speed control I had. So I go out with Lilligant. I do go for the Protect here, and we actually don't see the Fake Out, and I find that really interesting. We also don't see Grassy Glide, so I know this attack is now going into here, but we actually see Trick into Lilligant, and that's very good for us, because our Focus Sash does nothing. It does nothing for him. Yes, we have Choice Specs now, but he doesn't have Choice Specs, right? And not only that, but we have a cool little move that you might know of called After You. So now we have speed control on all of our Pokemon. And he can't set up the rain. So he went Woodhammer, and I'm figuring he's going to go Woodhammer again. My best bet is to always lock into this and just go for Earth Power. And now the reason why we go for Earth Power here is because it kind of covers for anything. If he comes in with Sableye, it's going to break the Focus Sash and do a lot of damage. If he comes in with Archludon, it's guaranteed one-shot. Though I think Blood Moon would be too, but it's just a little bit better. So we do get the After You off, and I expect to see Grassy Glide here, but it's not. It's going to be that Woodhammer again. And now this is what's making me think that this Rillaboom might actually be Choice Banded. And yeah, this always one-shots no matter what. I did a calc before, even if it's not Choice Banded, this just one-shots Ursaluna at full health, but he does get a critical hit. Doesn't really matter. He's going to take some significant damage, but like I said, I'm thinking here he's Choice Banded, so I have no worries on Torkoal here. I can just go out with Torkoal, go After You Eruption now, and as you can see, I put myself in a good position after my opponent made the mistake. And that's a big thing too about learning, is why did I beat my opponent despite the fact that I feel like I made a mistake. Is, you know, being able to take advantage of those mistakes is a very big skill as well, and something that's often overlooked, because, you know, this being Choice Band and this being Choice Scarfed and him being the sleep on the Sableye really puts me in a very good position, because he can't stop eruptions now. And this is going to be the last turn that confirms for me whether or not he is Choice Scarfed or not. I mean, Choice Banded. And we can see that it goes away. And yeah, so that just confirms to me that he's 100% banded. And we're going to be able to get the Torkoal off and After You, because we can't click anything else. And yeah, this is going to be an eruption. And he hasn't taken a sleep turn yet. So no matter what, he can't even wake up next turn. He can possibly go for the Fake Out, because I don't know 100% if he's banded or if he's just playing weird. But as you can see, Sableye was not Focus Sash, so I don't know what item it had on it. That's really interesting. But he has 3 choice users on his team, it seems. And yeah, that is going to be all she wrote. And we're going to take that victory. So as you can see, we won, but it wasn't clean. And I learned a lot from that battle too. And here's what I learned. Slow down. Once again, going too fast at the beginning of the game really hurt me. I could have brought better leads, like something like Lilligant plus maybe like Murkrow or something like that would have been a little bit better. I could have switched into the Ursaluna instead of going into the King Gambit, and this would have just allowed me to take the Electro Shot on turn 1 and maybe Sleep Powder into Sableye instead. And then I put a lot of pressure on that second turn with the Ursaluna, right? So there were a lot of plays like that I could have made that were just a lot better and more, like, what's the word? They were more consistent, right? And they would have just made a lot more sense in the situations that I was in. Identify the threats quickly. I wasn't able to identify that it was going to be Choice Scarf and that it was actually going to be a huge threat. I thought just Sleep Powdering it was going to be fine, but maybe it wasn't. Once again, if he made it rain on that turn, I just straight up lose the game, I think, and we were able to get through that. Though, we do still put a lot of pressure on with our King Gambit going into the next turn, but his Rillaboom's probably faster than both of my Pokemon, so they're definitely faster, by the way. Switching Mons correctly, once again, I just talked about this, I covered it a little bit, and that was like switching in the right Pokemon into the situation. I know he's going to go for Electro Shot. I know it's going to be Rain Dance, right? So why am I switching in King Gambit to take a hit when I have a Pokemon that's completely immune to the same hit? It's never going to be anything else. It's never going to be Dragon Pulse. It's never going to be, Body Press. It's always going to be Electro Shot because he has no reason not to go for it. So just bringing in the right Mons. And once again, just like in the first one, targeting the correct Mons. Let's make the right choices. I keep having, targeting the incorrect Mon or, whatever it might be. Just like, let me focus on the correct thing and make sure I have the correct Mon down before I can move on to the next one. And that goes with that first turn where I should have just Sleep Powdered into the Sableye, and then I would have been in a very, very good position. Especially if I would have led with something else. But I think leading with Torkoal was fine because it forces him to have to Rain Dance and go Electro Shot. But yeah, I think those things could change, and these are all things I'm working on. That's kind of how you can learn from your games. You want to watch replays. You can do the same thing for Showdown. Take notes is big too. I don't like to take notes during the game, but taking notes post-game is very, very helpful as well. Just write down like a little note on why you think you made a mistake or what mistake you made or how you could have fixed that mistake or how you might have been able to win that game. And you don't want those notes to be looking like, well, if I didn't get crit, oh, well, if I didn't, put myself in this situation or that situation, because those things happen in the game and they have the same chance to happen to you as they do your opponent. So, sometimes it's the win con, and sometimes you just got to be like, well, they crit, how could I win this? How could I put myself in a position to maybe not get crit by that attack? Could I have done a switch there, sacrifice something else so I wasn't taking that attack this turn? Maybe I could have got knockout. Maybe Protect was just better for this turn. You got to think about these things rather than just going, yeah, well, I got crit, so I just lost to a crit. Like, crit's the only way I'm losing, because you're not going to learn anything that way. But anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, make sure you guys thumbs it up. If you're not subscribed, make sure you do so. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, everybody.